So let's talk about pay, in particular, locksmithing pay. A while back, I sat down with Anderson Lock and Safe, and he spoke about not only this really cool apprentice program that he was doing, but also what he called performance pay. And so what you're about to see is a conversation between Michael, Pete, and myself, and we're gonna deep dive and kind of get into the details. And I know my dad has a lot of questions that I'm excited to maybe get some answers to. So I hope you enjoy. Michael, hey, so welcome back to kind of deep dive, kind of Q&A, and talk about the performance pay that you had brought up in a previous video.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it again. Just what you keep doing, PJ, and that's just giving a voice to the industry. It's cool. I hope more people take advantage of it, because getting to hear from different perspectives and getting to kind of share in the knowledge of how to grow this business is really important. As we kind of talked about last time, we're sort of at the precipice of something big. We've seen where the other trades have gone. There's only so many technicians out there. There's only so many resources that we're all kind of grabbing from. And so we have to be able to kind of shift our thinking a little bit to bring in that new generation.
Absolutely. And the cool part about the video we did last is when we got done with it and it went live, my dad here watched it and he was like, I have questions. And so the fact that we're able to kind of do almost a Q&A style now and talk about it and deep dive into a little bit is exciting for me. I know it is for my dad as well.
Absolutely.
And I think probably the best part is what I'm most excited to see is any fruit that comes out of this, with like if he changes anything. If we could though, and by the way, for those who are watching or listening, we'll put in the notes area a link to the original video. So if you want to get caught up with where we're coming from into this one, you can, where we kind of, talk about it probably from a different angle we're going to today. But this video will also stand alone by itself. So, but Michael, if we could, so I want to recap a couple points, and then I would like if you could just kind of bring us up to speed a little bit. So years back, so you own Anderson Lock and Safe, and you came to the industry not from someone like me who grew up into the industry, but you were a non-locksmith who bought a locksmith business.
Yeah, so I was doing management consulting. I had like eight consecutive contracts, anywhere between 6 and 12 months, and I would get in there and do the thing. And I don't know. I eventually just wanted to do something different. Wanted to kind of bet the farm on something, and so my wife and I finally decided, like, let's go all in on this. And we looked for about a year, and after meeting with the old owners of Anderson Lock and Safe, I'm like, I don't know how we're going to make it work, but we gotta make this work. This is too cool. Yeah, I became just obsessed. I'm still obsessed. It's kind of fun having a different perspective than everybody else, because there's so many people that have knowledge of our industry and the way that things should be done, and to be able to kind of in a really safe environment test those theories and figure out what can we change, what can differentiate us from everybody else. And of course, that's, the apprentice program, which we covered a little bit, and performance pay are two examples of just trying to think about how do we take what we have existing and bring that to the next generation, so that this business that's been around 50 years is going to be around in 50 years.
Absolutely. And so is what you did through trials and hardship trying to find new staff members. It essentially brought you to this apprentice program and performance pay.
Is there anything worse as a boss than like just losing a great employee?
Yeah.
It just hurts, and it makes you feel like a failure as a boss. Like, what did I do?
Exactly.
Because they're not leaving anything besides their boss at the end of the day.
Yep.
And it's happened to me. It's happened to me several times, like too many times to count, where we've lost people for various reasons. And so after you get over that emotion and you're able to kind of look in the mirror and think, okay, what can we do differently so that everybody wins, so that we have an environment that's that people look forward to going to every Monday. Performance pay became part of that because when we thought about bringing in the younger generation into the industry, work here for 10 years and maybe you'll be making $24 an hour is just not something that a lot of 19-year-olds are going to be signing up for.
Right.
Okay, so Dad, I want to just kind of kick it off. And so, Michael took over this business.
Right.
He had just normal hourly staff, and he realized, it wasn't working so well. I hope I'm paraphrasing this, okay?
Yeah,
and
you're right.
He started to make a transition to this new model. And my question is, what's like the first thing that comes to your head?
Well, first thing comes to my head, do you give them benefits?
Yeah. So they're not 1099s. These are W-2 employees, and that's one of the biggest, I think, recruiting topics that comes up whenever anybody's looking at a job is like, do you guys have a 401k? Do you have health insurance? Do you have dental, vehicle, tools, all that type of stuff? So, yeah, I've seen other models where they kind of do the 1099 thing and they say, you got to supply your own tools. You got to figure out your own health insurance. We're just going to basically contract you.
Okay.
They're definitely employees. They're bought in,
right,
for sure.
Now, so they don't lease the truck from you because you're not giving them a 1099 because they're actually employees of the corporation.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
So that's interesting. So explain to me.
But sorry to interrupt, Pete, but one thing I've noticed, and I don't know if you've noticed the same thing, is usually the thing that the employees care the most about is the money.
Absolutely.
The actual hourly rate or the amount that they're going to be making. And the benefits, though they're very expensive for the company and they should be probably valued a little bit higher, I haven't seen it valued as high across the board. Most people put that a lot lower on the list than what the gross money is going to be.
Right. It's all about how much they get hourly and how much are they making every week.
One thing that I learned at, there's an AC company, they do this with their techs. It's pretty cool. They're trying to figure out, okay, what should our hourly rate be? And so they said, all right, calculate how much it's going to cost you to send a guy out in a van. And so what they did is they had every technician kind of like brainstorm together, like what are all the costs that go into getting a guy out there in a van? And they said, okay, now take all those costs and divide it by, the amount of work days in a year. And then they figured out, okay, and then divide that by 8, you can get your hourly rate. That was a pretty cool exercise too, because once you start brainstorming, you realize, wow, it's really, really freaking expensive to make this happen. And so yeah, it can help so that you're both seeing from the same point of view.
Absolutely, Dad. So what are the questions?
Well, like what kind of commission, or do you give them commission? If they sell a safe, do you give them part of that commission, or is it just on labor?
So if they sell a safe, we do have a commission base. I think it's 2% that we do for all of our shop technicians. And if they sell a safe, they get 2% of whatever the total is.
Okay.
But on the road, we do a percentage of the trip charge. We do a percentage of the labor. And that can be any labor. It can be hourly labor, or it could be rekey, or it could be, we have some flat rate items that we do. Like if we're replacing a deadbolt from an existing hole, it'll be one rate. A fresh install will be a different rate. And then you get a percentage of the profit on the parts as well.
Do you mind talking about the percent?
Yes, but here's the problem I have sharing this with anybody is you have to look at your own business, because this could completely screw you. You have to look at your own business and figure out what are your overhead expenses, what are you going to need to be able to pay for the business and pay for yourself, knowing that if you're a commercial business, you may have probably 4% of the invoices you'll never get paid on, and you may have net 30 or net 60 or net 90. It's just really important that you do these numbers yourself, I think. I don't know if the number needs to be 5% or 40%. And I will tell you that the bigger your overhead is, the smaller the percentage is ultimately going to be.
Right.
But it has to be something sustainable, because once you put it in place, so like when we put it in place, there's no more raises, right? There's all that is every time there's a price increase at all, everybody gets a raise.
Right.
If they're able to do more, then they get a raise. If they're able to take on more jobs, if they're able to raise their average ticket, all that stuff, they're going to get a raise. And so with everybody in our company, like our dispatch, they're on performance pay based on the total revenue of the techs on the road. And so every 2 weeks we look at, what was the total revenue, and they get a percentage of that. For the CSRs, they get a percentage of the book calls. So every call they book and every email they book, there's a race to the phone and a race to the emails, because these things are, that's money on the table. We used to, like years ago, the first 4 years I was here, emails would just sit in the inbox forever, and there wasn't really this press to kind of like, let's get these things done and get the work orders created. And now it's just the inbox is sitting there at 0 most of the day. You know what I mean? Because the reaction time is so quick. It's one ring, we're answering, we're going to book the call. We're going to do everything we can to book that call.
Yeah, that's the way it should be.
Yeah. But I would say the biggest change that we've had with the performance pay has been with the technicians. And it's just their ability to stop speeding through every job and start to actually slow down and figure out what the customer wants. And to be able to provide them options. Because that's one thing, at least with our company, we're really bad at providing options. You're going there for a 2-lock rekey, we're going to do the 2-lock rekey and leave. And we went a couple of weeks ago, I did a ride along with one of the guys, and we were going out to somebody's house that I work with. He's a owner of a giant HVAC company, and I just wanted to see like what he thought of our process. I was so interested to see like, what do you think of our sales process? And he's like, here's the thing, Mike, your technician was awesome. He super professional. He did a really fast job. He was able to rekey everything, put on the keypad deadbolt that I wanted. He's like, but there was no sales process. There was nothing besides what I asked for. He didn't ask me about, do you want a keypad? Would you like a keypad deadbolt, by your garage or your master bedroom entrance, which we ended up selling him afterwards. He kind of did that himself, but he just said, like, what are my options? You know what I mean? Like, you're just rekeying my quick set. What are there higher security locks that I could have gotten? And I think we just got to get in the mindset of that, whether it's a commercial or residential customer. Like, we have to have a conversation and make sure that we're looking at more doors than just what were there. So one thing we started doing that's been brilliant for the technicians that have started doing it is we ask the simple question. Well, we get in, we offer a drink on the way, make sure with a lot of reciprocity is working. But then when we get to the site with the customer, we say, hey, we're definitely going to do this repair. But while we're here, part of what we do is we take a look at your other doors. It's completely complimentary. And are there any doors that you want me to avoid? And that now gives you the invitation to other things. And all you got to do is show them. You don't have to sell it. You know what I mean? If a door closer, if a door is slamming, you can just video it, show the customer like, hey, I opened the door and this is what I saw. And just let the conversation happen. The truth is, we are experts. There's very, very few locksmiths out there. So we have to be able to get in the habit of showing our expertise. And the guys that are really successful, they're not true great salesmen. They're just good locksmiths that have learned to look and notice things. That's really it.
Absolutely. That's the problem. A lot of them just want to go do the regular rekey and get out instead of trying, as I call it, upselling. Hey, you need a better quality lock, or, if you have a problem with people getting your keys out, why don't you go to a restricted keyway and this and that.
Yeah, and I think it's a training thing. I don't think it, because I think a lot of people are just, when they hear the word sales or upselling, they think, no, that's not me. I'm just a technician. I don't want to be doing that type of stuff. And there's kind of this bad taste in their mouth from like forcing things to people that they maybe don't want. And they're used to the used car salesman, or they're used to getting calls on the phone asking about your car's extended warranty. And they think that's what they're asking me to do. And the truth is, that's so far from the truth. That's not it at all. Yeah. And there's also, there's so much pressure. Like, for years, we would put pressure on our technicians to get done with as many jobs as possible. Not necessarily even saying it like that, but we would, it'd be 2 p.m. and you would be on a job, and then you would have 2 other jobs after that. Well, what else are you going to think besides, I got to get out of here? I'm not going to waste any more time than I need to. I gotta eat dinner with my family tonight.
Right.
And so you have to create the culture where it's okay, not just okay, but encourage to slow it down, really spend time with the customer, make sure you evaluate and understand what they need.
So, if I bring a point I know that we've talked about, so like, what does it look like? So let's say you have a tech, let's say tomorrow has a job scheduled at 10 o'clock, his first job is. Is he required to come to one of your locations before that? Can he stay home? And same goes with after the job. Let's say he gets done with that job at 11:30, got done, much quicker than he thought. The next job's not till 1:30. Is he required to come back to the store and like keep busy or do something, or can he go home? Can he go run errands? Like, talk us through like that daily, like what it looks like daily in those type of situations.
And do they take their vans home? Or are they required to drop them off every morning and pick them up?
Yeah, they do take their vans home. If they have a 10 o'clock start time for their first job, that's probably what I would consider a scheduling issue. I'd probably like to get them one more before that, because we start at 8 o'clock. The guys will roll in at 9 o'clock if their first job is not till then. It's not super unusual. If they don't have any jobs, then no, they don't come to the shop. They'll go home. But here's the thing, like performance pay or hourly, either way, as a business owner, it's not good to have your technicians sit idle, right? You try to limit it as much as you can. Let's just say it's, because I've seen this happen at like maybe 10:30, 11 o'clock, where they're done with their first maybe 2 jobs and then they weren't able to do anything else. Then what they'll do is the dispatcher will just tell them, take a lunch, and then we'll get you something on your way back. So usually within an hour we can pull something in. If we're really slow, then obviously that becomes an issue. But there have been times when we've needed to send the techs home early, but we don't usually just keep guys idle, like between jobs. We'll just throw another job that maybe was under some other tech, so that person can stay working.
Because you took it away from them to keep the other tech busy. Are they upset because, well, that was my job, now I'm not making money?
Yeah, so it's not necessarily their job. Like if they landed the job and it's a customer that they worked with before and they prefer them as a tech, or maybe it's a job that we needed to order parts for and need to stay on that tech, yeah, of course. But if it's just a random service call that was called in this morning, the guys get it. Like, we flex all the time. We talk to them about that. Just because these 4 jobs are on your board right now does not mean that is going to stay for the whole day. We flex all the time. Everybody understands it. It's going to happen to you. It'll happen for you. It'll even out. And really, one of the I guess chief complaints I've heard from guys historically is like, well, I don't get the good jobs, or I don't get the big commercial jobs, or I don't get the opportunities somebody else does. And we've killed it. That is just, it's been proven so many times over. There's no favoritism, number one. But number two, the guys that are really successful, they will turn a 2-lock rekey into an all-day job. They will, because it's a giant warehouse that they're going to, and you're there for the 2-lock rekey. But while you're there, you find other things, and all of a sudden, the maintenance guy's like, "Oh my gosh, this door is so annoying to deal with." Yes, every single day it bugs me. I'm really glad you noticed that. People just don't know your full list of services even, right? They think you're a locksmith, you're just going to work on the lock, but they don't know that you're going to work on anything else within the opening.
Exactly.
Right? Mm-hmm. It's constantly educating people that, the AC guy that I told you about, we went to his house. They're a giant company. And they still have customers today that don't know that they do plumbing as well, even though it's in every commercial and every radio ad and everybody knows their jingle. They're like, "Oh, you guys do plumbing too?" Yes, we have forever, and we do. But it's true. You can't expect everybody to just know all your services. You got to be able to have a conversation and start to showcase, okay, hey, did you notice this? Like, that's something we can fix while we're here instead of doing another service call later.
And so, with all of that being said, have you found, like, when you get guys, so of course, like, you have all sorts of different staff with different levels of skill, right?
Mm-hmm.
And have you found that with the performance pay type of format, that these techs are more inclined to learn those skills so they can do more complex jobs? Or have you found that they just kind of like to stay in their lane?
No. So the guys, here's the thing. And I learned this from our top tech this year, and I think it's really important, is like, we can give you the tools, we can give you the training, we can give you the van, the brand, the leads. But one thing that we cannot do is make you believe in yourself. And like, some guys just have it, right?
Exactly.
And let me tell you this, like, the guys that don't believe in themselves, those are the guys that are saying, I never get the big jobs.
Right.
That's just true. And so what I've seen from our technicians is they won't take no for an answer, right? The guys that have done super well, like, they don't take no for an answer. They just, all right, the part was ordered wrong. Oh, well. They dispatched me across town. Oh, well. I can go pick up the part from our local distributor and like make this thing work. They will do whatever they can to make the job successful. And they do that over and over and over again by having the right attitude and everything else. So anyways, to your point, like, if they run into a job where they haven't done it before, they're figuring it out. They're going to figure it out by calling any of our senior techs. We have squad leads, and then we have a couple of estimators that are, tons of years of experience that can help you, and they're going to figure it out. Hey, is this something that we can do? What's my option here? Can we get an estimate out? Let's work together to get these guys, something solved. And
so
the guys that are new, they might be scared to work, on pivots or door closers or all that stuff, but it just takes practice.
You actually have people that just do estimates. Your techs don't do the estimates.
So our techs do the estimates too, but we have an estimator. Sometimes it's just easier to rely on our estimator to do it from the office, because it's going to be pretty consistent format. He's a lot more familiar with the parts, and it's just in our industry, there's so many brands and so many parts that you kind of need to learn. And I wouldn't expect a guy that's been there 120 days to be able to give a customer really good options.
Right.
Now, what kind of, as we close up here, what kind of questions do you have? I mean, I know you want to hear, because I know you, some sort of ballpark percentages.
Absolutely.
I know,
because like our people, whoever sells the safe in the stores or even the techs, they get 10% of the profit. So if they sell a $200 safe and it costs us $140, they get $6,
Yep.
So, okay, so here, let's do the we'll show you first before you show us thing, okay? And with for your on-call commission,
right?
What percentage do you get?
They get 40% on trip charge and all the labor.
40%.
And 10% on parts.
10% on parts. And that's been your standard with how your current percentages are for after hours work.
Yes.
You do essentially performance pay, but during the day you don't.
Well, last weekend, the guy made $1,262 working Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Friday night.
Yeah, Friday night.
Saturday and Sunday, yeah.
And that's excellent pay in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, anyone's opinion. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, we have I guess a similar structure for the on calls, nights and weekends. But yeah, so what I would look at is the way that we started this, because the percentages, don't just throw a percentage at. Start to think, what am I willing to pay for this amount of revenue? What am I willing to pay for this amount of profit? And structure these deals. And it's okay if they're lucrative, because if you're willing to pay it, then it's going to work out. If you're not willing to pay it, then don't do it.
Yeah, because like the guys on call, I said, I don't care if it takes you 5 minutes or an hour, you're getting this much and that's it. I'm not paying you, an hourly rate. So you didn't charge enough, but that's part of your learning curve too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of funny. So we recently, it's not that recent, maybe a year ago, increased our on-call percentage.
Yes.
Because there was like 10 technicians that were sharing the on-call, and it was kind of like pulling teeth to get people to join or to like want to do on-call. And so we upped the percentage and just said, like, just take care of the customers. And now there's a fight for it. I mean, there really is. There's every weekend, the guys can make so much money, so they're kind of clamoring over the opportunity to do it.
Well, absolutely, because of how everything's so expensive. This gives them a heads up to earn more without getting a second job, really.
I do want to say, though, I'm pretty certain when I worked on call for you back in the day, you only paid me like 30%.
Probably.
Is that true?
I think it was 35.
35? Man, skimming me.
No, you lived at home. What can I say? You're double dipping.
Yeah. Yeah, we moved ours up, but it's all ultimately you got to do what makes sense for your business. Ours is 60% right now, so 60% of the profits on the parts, and then 60% of the trip and labor. So that's why there's a fight, because everything's going to be time and a half anyways. Yeah,
because you're giving them after hours 60%.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and do you?
Yeah, so honestly, the business doesn't make much in after hours, but I do not want to miss a phone call from our commercial customers. That's really the decision that we made. Right, is like we can't afford to miss it.
And Michael, if you can, I just want to close on one last point here that I'm really curious about. I'm sure my dad probably is, and those listening or watching with us here, is to the best that you're willing to be transparent about it. So you started going down this road for the issues that we described earlier, but I'm really curious about kind of what the back end looks like. And what I mean by that is, like, you had your current cash flow system and profitability before you started this, and then now you've done it long enough to where, do you see an improvement in your profit and your cash flow, or is it kind of a neutral, but operations a lot easier to run? If you can kind of just walk us through as much with as much transparency as you're willing.
It's been an improvement, a drastic improvement. Yeah, this is the most profitable we've ever been on the books, for sure.
Wow.
Okay. That's good. And I really do think that this is the reason, is because we became aligned. It did not make operations easier. It makes it a lot more complicated. So, like, if you're considering diving into this, you have to consider, what are you going to do when somebody is running somebody else's recall? What are you going to do when somebody on performance pay is going out and running a part to somebody? What are you going to do when they don't have work? What are you going to do when they're at a meeting, like a company meeting? All those types of things need rules around them, right? And then you also have to think about what happens when there's shared jobs. Where's the credit given? Is it going to be evenly distributed? All that type of stuff. And then you have to have a good way to track all of this, right? Because you're trying to look, do you have a good CRM where you can track the cost of the parts versus the sale of the parts? It's probably pretty easy to figure out the percentage of your trip charge and your labor, but you got to have a really good sense of what's going on with the cost of the parts. And by the way, I'm saying this because we ran into every roadblock this year. It's like, oh shoot, didn't think about this. Oh shoot, didn't think about this.
Yeah, there's a lot of things you got to think about.
There's a lot to think about. And so you got to make sure that it's going to be a sustainable model that more and more people can join, and you're not bogging down your accounting team with trying to figure out how do I know how much this guy needs to get paid for, this week or this month or whatever.
Right.
But for sure, it's been arguably the best decision we've made. It's hard, and not everybody's. Even still, there's a lot of fear around it, right? Mm-hmm. But what I say is, like, the biggest fear, I think, is that what happens if we run out of work? If we run out of work, it doesn't matter if you're hourly or not. We can't have hourly technicians just sitting without any work to do either. It's the same situation.
And so essentially what he's saying is, like, a lot of times in business, right, wherever we put the pressure is where we spend our focus. So if we're putting pressure on our cash and our line of credit, our focus is there. But if our focus is on making sure the people have work,
the leads to do the work,
then we're putting our focus, our time, energy, and
Right.
efforts trying to do that, not making sure we can pay for a slow time.
Right.
It makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm just curious, Pete, what do you think that first conversation would look like? And do you think you have a candidate in mind you're envisioning, or an employee you have in mind that you're envisioning might like something like this?
It's going to be a tough discussion,
Have you talked to anyone even about this at all?
No.
Okay.
Because I always thought I was more than fair doing what I'm doing now. But again, if they finish,
by the way, you are. There's no doubt about it. You are.
And, the problem I have is the guys, if they finish their job early, I want them to get to the next one, because you never know in our business how many jobs you're going to get that day. And you say, well, we're booked for the day, we can't do it. Well, that's not acceptable for me, type thing. So I do push, but there's those guys who won't call in and they've got lost for an hour because they didn't have to do their job till the next hour. And, I think it's a great way of increasing income for them, but you really got to figure out your total cost for everything. And that's where it makes it tough.
Yeah, I would probably suggest doing a similar thing to what we did, if you're considering it, is get one guy, maybe two guys, to just try it that want that. You know what I mean? And maybe the guys that have been asking for raises, those are going to be the best candidates.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you're like, I want to do this for you too. Here's your opportunity. We had a pretty cool moment this year. We gave out, it was essentially like the Roger Bannister Award is what we called it at our Christmas party on Saturday. We had a technician who broke through a number that we didn't think was possible for any tech. I've talked to business owners all over the country. I've never heard of any locksmith hitting $500,000 in revenue.
Wow.
And yeah, but by January he was already talking about it. And this guy had every roadblock possible, including, from his own team, because it was just, this whole performance pay was new, and they thought, well, what is this guy doing? Is he cheating the system? And we started to figure out that his sales process was just completely different. He wasn't trying to sell anything. He just stopped and took pictures and videos and showed people what was happening on their doors. And it obviously made a huge difference. Yeah. So we told the story, if you got a second, but back about the time of Christ, there was this concept that the Romans created called the mile. And it was, 1,000 paces for a Roman legion. And ever since then, throughout human history, they've said it's impossible for any human to run a mile in under 4 minutes. Like, it's impossible. Doctors said it. Scientists said it. Like, the cardiac output is not ever going to allow it. So then one day, of course, this skinny guy from Britain, Roger Bannister, decides he's going to do it. And he's like, he says he can do it. He says it's possible. He's a scientist as well. And so he organizes this big event, gets the Guinness Book of World Records there. There's 3,000 people at this event. And the day of the event, it's in England. So, of course, the weather sucks. It's like May or something. And like 30-mile-per-hour winds, raining, and muddy track. So, like, absolutely the worst conditions you could imagine for a runner. And he's just like, all right, well, I guess I got to do it. And he goes around, and by the end, they knew that he had a chance. He ended up finishing at 3:59.4, and suddenly it was possible. And the best part of the story is that once that happened, the next person that broke a 4-minute mile was 46 days later.
Wow.
Because now he opened the door to it. And I believe this. Like, I saw that with our text. $500,000 was impossible. It was just impossible. There's no way to do it. There's not enough hours in the day, blah, blah, blah. I guarantee there will be 2 more next year. Now that they've seen it happen, the amount of belief that they have in themselves, and this technician, his name's Jamie, he's really instilled that belief in everybody else. I'm so friggin' proud of him, and proud of everybody in this kind of stepping up to do the same thing. It's really been an unbelievable journey for all of us this year, but I think he's kind of helped showcase what's possible.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah, it is. That's
so awesome. I mean, what I hear the most is that like all of a sudden the company and the tech start to become aligned.
Right.
Instead of one feeling the other is taking advantage.
Right. Where one gets more than the other. It's, it's not fair,
Yes. Yeah. It really starts to align everyone with the same goals.
Right. Absolutely.
Right. That's good, Michael. Hey, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate you being willing to come on a call like this and talk about it and be as open as you are. And I personally think it's a fantastic idea that I've been and keep encouraging my dad to move to. Over the years, we've had talks like this.
We've had.
Yeah. But to talk to someone who has already done it instead of one of my crazy ideas, I think probably makes you feel
you got
better.
a lot of crazy ideas.
Yeah.
But a lot of them will work. So,
But perfect. Well, Michael, thank you once again. And you know what? Hey, if he ends up moving forward at all, we'll definitely keep you in the loop and, let you know how it goes.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. And I do want to caution anybody that's considering doing this, including you, Pete, figure out your percentages for yourself.
Right.
And I can't do this for you because I could bankrupt your business.
Yeah.
Or I could make it where the technicians would quit. Any of the two could happen. So just you have to figure out what are you willing to pay to give people those opportunities.
Oh, absolutely. Because I like keeping them. I've have 4 employees, maybe 5, would have been with me 20 years.
Wow.
And, we've had a lot of 10 years and a lot of year, and that's it.
Yeah.
But
I think the guys that have been there the longest will probably be least interested in a move like this. That's my guess.
Yep. Which is the funny part is knowing those people, this actually solves some of their problem.
Right.
But yeah, there's going to be resistance there for sure.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. We all want certainty in life, right? We all want certainty in business. Like when we come up with an idea, is this going to work? Should we risk doing this?
Right.
But sometimes you gotta just take a risk knowing that you're going to learn from it, and you just hope you land on your feet,
Yeah, as a business owner, we take risks every day.
Every day.
Perfect, Michael. Hey, thank you very much. We appreciate it, man. It's been almost an hour of us talking about it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But
appreciate your time.
Yeah, good stuff. Thank you. Nice to meet you, Pete. PJ, just keep rocking, man. You're doing great.
Yeah. All right, sounds good. Hey, thank you, Michael, and we'll talk soon.
Sounds good. Bye-bye.
All right, well, I tell you what a fabulous conversation. I can't thank Michael enough for being willing to come on and talk about it, and then to have my dad who's considering moving to some sort of plan like that, to be able to get on and ask questions, lots of great discussions, and I'm really curious what you think during that conversation. Do you have any input, any questions, any advice? Go ahead and pop it in the comments below. I look forward to taking a look. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Congrats, you've made it to the end. Now, I want to make sure that when you are commenting on our videos that you include the hashtag Lockboss. When you do, you automatically get entered in to win one of 5 free prizes we give away every Tuesday live here on YouTube. So I look forward to reading your comment and responding soon. Until next time.